Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and I see you here. I see Preeti, Sunanda, and Bobby here on Zoom. Nice to have you with us. We're reading The Eternal Companion, and it's been 2 weeks since we've done it because we've had some guest speakers on Wednesday. We are on page 189, and we've been talking about samadhi and Maharaja's, Swami Brahmananda's teachings on it. We have covered, is there a special diet we should follow? And he said, one that agrees with you. Should we avoid eating meat? And he said, no, because there's nothing that you could eat that you wouldn't be killing something. Ancient Hindus held no such ideas about eating meat. These are Buddhist and Vaishnavite interpolations. So now this afternoon, we're going to be talking about samadhi. Samadhi is generally classified as of two kinds. In the first, the Sarvikalpa samadhi, one experiences the mystic vision of the spiritual form of God, while the consciousness of individuality remains. In the second, Nirvikalpa samadhi, a man loses his individuality and goes beyond the vision of the form of God. The whole universe disappears. Besides these two, there is yet another kind of samadhi called ananda, blissful samadhi. If an ordinary man attains this experience, his body and brain cannot stand the intense ecstatic joy. He cannot live more than 21 days. Between the eyebrows, there is a third eye, the eye of wisdom. When this eye is opened, a fountain of joy is released, and the whole universe seems merged in bliss. One day, in the course of his teachings, Sri Ramakrishna spoke about the manifestation of Brahman as sound, the Logos. Later, when I sat for meditation, I took this as my subject, and it was not long before the sound of Brahman was revealed to me. Sri Ramakrishna one day told me, once while I was meditating in the temple, screen after screen of Maya was removed from my consciousness, and I saw a light more brilliant than 1,000,000 suns. From that light, there came forth a spiritual form, which again melted away into the formless. The body is the temple of God, and one should practice worship and meditation within it. When the consciousness merges into the Sahasra, the mind does not feel inclined to come back. There you realize that what is outside is also within yourself. Though temples may serve as aids to beginners, they are but symbols of God's greatest of all temples, the human heart. Within the palace of 7 gates, there dwells a king with whom a poor man begs an audience. The king's minister grants his request and leads him through the gates to the royal presence. At each gate, there stands a richly dressed officer, and each time the poor man asks the minister if that is the king. The minister answers no each time until they have passed the 7th gate, and the king stands before them in all his splendor and beauty. Then no question is asked. The man recognizes his king. So it is with the guru. Like the king's minister, he leads the disciple through the different stages of spiritual unfoldment until he leaves them with the Lord. But know this, there is no greater guru than your own mind. When the mind has been purified by prayer and contemplation, it will direct you from within. Even in your daily duties, this inner guru will guide you and will continue to help you until the goal is reached. Have intense love for God, and the mind will remain always tranquil and pure. The easiest way to purify and steady the mind is to retire into solitude, control all cravings, and engage yourself in contemplation and meditation. Well, we have all had the opportunity to do that with this past year. However, I don't think we used it to calm our minds. So to go on with what Maharaj says, the more you occupy the mind with holy thoughts, the greater will be your spiritual unfoldment. Just as a cow yields much milk when it is well fed, so when the mind is fed spiritual food, it will yield greater tranquility. Spiritual food consists of meditation, prayer, contemplation, and japa. Another way to steady the mind is to let it wander, but to keep a steady watch over its wanderings. After a while, the mind itself becomes tired and comes back to find peace in God. If you watch your mind will in turn watch over you. It is good to rise early in the morning. The time best suited for contemplation is when night passes into day, and when day passes into night. It is then that the Sushumna becomes active, and one breathes through both nostrils. As a general rule, we breathe through only one nostril at a time. This causes restlessness of the mind. Spiritual aspirants should observe when they are breathing through both nostrils. The Sushumna is active then. Those times are the most helpful to contemplation, and we should take advantage of them. Free your mind from cravings and attachments. Practice spiritual disciplines, and your mind will become pure and steady. If a man does not struggle hard to realize God, he remains steeped in ignorance. Therefore struggle, and God will be revealed. Accept all trials and tribulations boldly. Welcome them, for through them you shall surely find peace. The easiest method of realization is to remember God constantly. Even as a man welcomes his friend and entertains him with food, drink, and conversation, so must you entertain God in your thoughts. Converse freely with him. Know him as your very own, and you will find peace in him. Who can fathom the mystery of God? He is infinite and formless, and yet he is also with form. He incarnates himself as man. Verily, it is beyond the power of mind to understand the devious ways through which God leads man to himself. Sometimes the path is smooth, sometimes it's thorny, and sometimes it is like an impassable mountain. But still he leads man safely to himself if he will only take refuge in him. It is Maya that prevents the mind and the senses from desiring to experience God. But man who has realized him has risen above all the charms and attractions of Maya. Maya reveals her mysteries only to him who has gone beyond Maya. Being chained to Maya, man does not realize how great is his suffering as he whirls around on the wheel of birth and death. The body dies day by day while man still sleeps in Maya, forgetting the sacred mission for which he was born. The one unique advantage of this human birth over all other forms of life is that it is by man alone that God can be realized. Therefore, forget the body and its comforts. Shake off the delusion of birth and death. Shake off the illusory peace of Maya and find the real peace, the everlasting peace of God. Sri Ramakrishna used to say that a man will surely attain God if he possesses, in an intense degree, three kinds of love. The love of a chaste wife, the love a chaste wife feels towards her husband, the attraction the worldly man feels toward the world, and the attachment the miser feels towards his hoarded wealth. This means that the mind must be one-pointed and completely free of all desires, but the desire to know and love God. Sri Krishna says it in the Gita, "Lay down all duties in me, your refuge. Fear no longer, for I will save you from sin and from bondage." Surrender yourself wholeheartedly to God. Take refuge in Him. Pray constantly with a pure, sincere heart. O Lord, I do not know what is good or what is bad for me. I'm entirely dependent on you. Grant me what I most need for the spiritual life. Take me along the path which will lead me to the greatest good. Give me the faith and strength constantly to remember you and meditate on you. It's no easy thing to dedicate oneself, heart and soul to the Lord. Many people boast, "I have surrendered myself and my all to God. I do only what He tells me to do." But if we observe their lives, we see differently. For the good they do, they claim the credit, and they boast of their achievements. But when adversity or trouble overtakes them, they cry out against the Lord and blame Him for all their misfortunes. We judge men by their actions, but God looks into their innermost minds. Be sure of this: God runs to him who prays with a sincere heart. Be pure in heart and always make your thoughts and lips one. Only 1 in a million sincerely longs for God, and few sustain that longing. Therefore, you must try to intensify that longing. Whatever you do, whether you are sitting or lying down or eating or working, pray constantly. O Lord, make me able to understand and receive that grace which I know you are ready to give me. Know that your time on this earth is but short, and that your real home is at the lotus feet of the Lord. In his folly, man will deny the very existence of God because of his own comprehension. He prefers to rely upon his own intellect, little realizing how unstable the intellect is. Even though what he accepts as true today, he rejects as false tomorrow. Yet he thinks that what appears as true to himself today is the final truth and must be accepted by all. The Lord alone knows all the subtle ways by which a man may be deluded. One who has known God does not limit him. To him, God is not a matter of opinion. God is. He is boundless love and infinite mercy. He is beyond the grasp of the intellect. He who has realized God understands his mysteries. For him there's nothing hidden. The gates of knowledge are open, and he knows that he belongs to God, even as God belongs to him. Intelligence is but another name for ignorance, because its area is limited. Therefore, if a man wants to attain all knowledge and understand all mysteries, let him devote himself to the knowledge of God. As children swing around a pillar in their play, holding tightly to it for their support, you must hold fast to God, the pillar of life. Whichever path you follow, whether it be the path of work or of devotion or of knowledge, You will reach him. Hold fast to the pillar, and your life will be blessed, and you in turn will become a blessing to mankind. Are there any questions about this section? We're going to start another teaching. Any questions or any comments? Our next section will be Maharaj. Is initiation really necessary? And his answer, yes. Initiation is very important. With the aid of a mantra, it is easier to practice concentration of the mind on one chosen ideal of God. Without the mantra, the mind wanders from one conception of God to another and never succeeds in concentrating upon any. And without achieving perfect concentration, nothing can be accomplished in spiritual life. Therefore, the aid of a guru is very necessary. He helps the disciple to choose his own particular ideal according to his temperament, and then gives the mantra best suited to the attainment of concentration on that ideal. With unwavering faith in the words of the guru, the disciple must regularly practice repetition of the mantra and meditation on its meaning. Thus will he find peace of heart. The path of spirituality is hard to follow. No matter how clever or how intelligent a man may be, without the aid of an illumined guru, he is sure to stumble on the way. Was the answer to that question clear enough for everyone, or would they like to make a comment? Is initiation yes? Okay. The next question they have for Maharaj. Maharaj, I have been practicing spiritual disciplines, but as yet I have acquired no taste for them. What shall I do? And this is not an uncommon situation. I think everyone thinks they're going to achieve something great right away, and it becomes rather mundane to sit there and keep doing the same thing over and over again if you have not developed a taste for it. So his answer is, the taste for spiritual life cannot be had all at once. No, one has to struggle hard for it. All our energies must be concentrated toward that one achievement. They must not be wasted in any other direction. Onward, onward. Never be satisfied with your present state of growth. Try to create a burning dissatisfaction within yourself. Ask yourself, what progress am I making? None. And apply yourself ever more diligently to the task. Sri Ramakrishna used to cry out at the close of each day, "O Mother, another day has gone and I have not seen you." Every night before you go to sleep, think for a while how much time you have spent in doing good deeds and how much time you have wasted, how much time you have spent in meditation and how much you have wasted in idleness. Make your mind strong through the observance of continence and the practice of meditation. You cannot buy God. His vision comes only through his grace. Does this mean that you should not practice spiritual disciplines? Certainly you must practice. Otherwise, passions will create havoc in you. A rich man employs a porter whose duty it is to see that neither thieves, nor cows, nor sheep, nor any other intruder enter the compound. Man's mind is his porter, and the stronger the mind becomes, the better. The mind has also been likened to a restive horse. Such a horse may carry its rider along the wrong path, and only he who can hold the reins and check the horse can keep to the right path. Struggle on. Do you think that everything is achieved by merely wearing the garawa or by the renunciation of hearth and home? What spiritual experiences have you had? Time is flying. Waste no more time, for at most you have only 3 or 4 years in which to struggle intensely. After that, your body and mind will grow weak and infirm, and your efforts will be limited. What can be achieved without diligence? You may think, let us have yearning, faith, and devotion first. Then we shall begin our spiritual practices. But is that possible? Can you see the day before the break of dawn? When the Lord comes, love, devotion, and faith follow him as his retinue. Nothing can be achieved without spiritual discipline. Have you not seen that what severe disciplines even the avatars underwent? Has anything been gained without labor? What tremendous austerities were practiced by Buddha, Shankara, and others? What burning renunciation! Real faith cannot be had at the beginning. First realization, then faith. At first, the spiritual aspirant must pin his faith, blind faith it may be, in the words of the Guru or some great soul. Only then can he advance towards the goal. Do you know Sri Ramakrishna's parable of the oyster? The oyster floats about on the surface of the water with its shell wide open, waiting for a little drop of the Swati rain, the rain which falls when the star Swati or Arcturus is in the ascendant. As soon as it gets the raindrop, it dives down to the bottom of the sea and there forms a fine pearl. You, like the oyster, have received the raindrop. You have the grace of your Guru. Now dive deep into the ocean of bliss and form the pearl. Let God be revealed. Be self-reliant. Self-effort is absolutely necessary to success in spiritual life. Follow some spiritual discipline for at least 3 years. And then, if you find you have made no tangible progress, you may come back and slap my face. They never did tell us how many came back to slap his face. I've never heard of one who did, but who knows. I think if you do practice that complete austerity and diligence, you achieve something. Jopam and meditation are impossible unless you can transcend Rajas and Tamas and become established in Sattva. Those are the 3 gunas for I think everyone is aware of them. Rajas, Tamas, and Sattva. The Tamas is the lower guna where you get a little lazy, a little angry, all kinds of things. Rajas is action and Sattva is peace, peaceful, calm tranquility. Before you can reach that transcendental plane from which there is no return, you must transcend Sattva also. How blessed is the human birth! Man alone can find the goal. To realize him must be man's only purpose. Strive hard to reach him and be free in this very life. The mind is to be raised step by step from the gross state to the subtle, then to the causal state, then higher still, to the great cause, Mahakarana, and finally to Samadhi. Resign yourself utterly to the Lord. He is everything. There is nothing besides. Verily, all this is Brahman. Everything is his and his alone. Never be calculating. Is self-surrender possible in a day? When that is achieved, everything is achieved. One must struggle hard for it. Existence is eternal. The span of man's life is at most 100 years. Give up the pleasures of these 100 years if you want to enjoy eternal life and with it, eternal bliss. I think, is there any points of discussion that anyone would like to bring up? I think that's a fair place to stop this week. We can go on to the next question if there's nothing to discuss. Nothing? Okay. In the beginning of spiritual life, it's very good to plan a definite routine. A certain length of time should be given to the practices of meditation, japa, and study. Whether you like it or not, follow your routine regularly. By so doing, you will gradually create a permanent habit. Perhaps now you do not enjoy meditating, but as you form the habit, you will come to the point where you will actually feel unhappy if you do not meditate. When you reach this stage, you will know that you have advanced along the spiritual path. When a man is hungry or cannot sleep at night, he is restless and unhappy. When you can feel this same restlessness and unhappiness because you have not seen God, then know that God is very near. Reach the immortal and find immortality. Then it will not matter where you are or what you're doing. Turn the iron into gold by the touch of the philosopher's stone. Then, whether you bury it deep or keep it in a neat box, it will not matter. It will always remain gold. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, realize that you are one with Brahman, then do as you please. By this, he meant, first attain love and knowledge and realize God. Then it does not matter how you live or what you do. One who has reached this state, however, can never make a false step. Many are the obstacles to a godly life. Therefore, it is necessary to pray earnestly to the Lord to remove these obstacles. Yearn for his grace. Many are the worldly impressions already accumulated in your mind, and many are the impressions created in this life also. As you struggle against them, they will seem to grow stronger, so that he alone truly conquers them, who never loses sight of the ideal and never gives up the struggle. Within each one of us, there are two currents flowing. One carries us toward God, and the other carries us toward the world. One current takes you along the path of renunciation to God, and the other tries to pull you toward worldly enjoyments. We must choose between them. As a result of this choice, we become either gods or brutes. The tempting objects of the world lie before man's eyes in all their glittering and delusive splendor, so that he feels no need even to consider the probability of anything higher or grander. He may hear about the higher ideal of life, but he rationalizes by asking himself what guarantee there is that God can be known, or that a greater joy can be reached. He sees no reason why he should give up today's pleasure for tomorrow's promise. Thinking thus, he jumps further into the fire, until burned and frustrated he realizes his folly. Then he longs for peace, but often the longing comes too late. So enslaved has his mind become that even though he may earnestly desire to change his ways, he is helpless to do so in this life. Now, next week we will discuss puja, meditation, continence, study of scriptures, and what do we mean by puja. So, any comments, any questions, any observations? Which part?
He longs for peace, but often the longing comes too late.
Yes.
So enslaved has his mind become that even though he may earnestly desire to change his ways, he is helpless to do so in this life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Practice.
Difficult.
It is difficult. But that's why they always say to practice as early as possible when you have the energy and the strength of mind, strength of body, to put those practices to do them every day. And then you can, it's not that you rest on your laurels, but they do become automatic, and you don't have to be as ritualistically attached to them. You meditate, but you don't necessarily, you go into your shrine, or you may not. You may sit in a chair and meditate, but you have formed the habit, and that continues in your spiritual life. You also form the habit of constantly thinking of God, and the mantra constantly kind of rolling around. I don't say rolling around, but it kind of goes in the background there, where you can do your duties, talk to people, but anytime there's a silence in the noise of the world, your mantra is there. Yeah. So practice early, practice hard. Well, you have the energy to do it. Now, we will be having, this Saturday we have the memorial service for Stephen at 3 o'clock. Swami Brahmananda will give a talk in the temple if there's room in the parking lot. He'll give a talk on immortality. He'll also give a talk on Sunday morning. Both he and Sarvadevananda are going to speak Sunday morning, all in the self in all. Next Wednesday, we will, as far as I know, if we don't have any more visitors, we'll be doing the Eternal Companion. We'll let you know if we have any more surprise visitors, which we always appreciate. And I think that's it for the week. And we will end with a chant. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Sri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.